I'd like to call the regular city council meeting to order for September 25th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would, first off, I'd like to thank everybody who's here. We got a pretty busy meeting tonight. I just want to say thanks for that. And then the first thing we have to do is look at the approval for the minutes from September 11th, 2023. I just need a motion for that.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Gary makes a motion for approving the minutes for September 11th.
I'll second that.
Donnie seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then the next thing would be the September 2023 regular city council meeting. I just need the approval for the minutes for that.
Make the motion for that.
Kyle makes a motion.
I'll second it.
Donnie seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then I'd like to ask if there's any additions to the agenda for anybody? Bob?
Nothing for me.
Good.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Donnie makes a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second it.
Gary seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So the first thing we have on our agenda is the planning and zoning with Jim Gerwing.
We have, I think, 4 or 5 items on the list today. The first one is a concrete permit application by Bob's Lumber to make a 9-foot by 20-foot pad on the east side of their main building for the dumpster. It's just kind of an addition onto a pad they already have for the dumpster, just small in it. So we don't have any issues with that. We'd recommend you approve that. A small accessory structure permit by Tom and Stacy Pepping is the second one I have on the list. They want to make a 10 by 16-foot shed on the northeast corner of their lot at 321 Carr Street. And we feel that's okay also and recommend that you approve that. Then we have a small accessory structure permit by Ethan Lochner to move in a pre-built wood shed from 80 to 128 square feet. He says he's not sure yet what size it would be, but so I just put that range in there. He had several ones that he's looking at this time. I just put that range in there. At 111 Vincent Street South, he wasn't sure where the lot line was. At least on his map, he didn't have it on there. He just had the power line on the backside. And so we put a condition on there. I spoke with his wife at some length, and we put a condition on there that is that it is at least 10 feet from the back and side lot lines. And so it's on them to find that lot line there. That's right. That opens up right to the field behind their house there to Carr's Field there. And so people are driving back there, drives back to, I think it's an easement, isn't it, Donnie? Even back to there to Looking's house across the back there. So I'm not sure anybody knows for sure exactly where it is there, but.
Did they pin those? Were there pins back there?
Well, there would be, I'm sure there is, but they did not survey it.
Locate 'em.
And what we do when we approve it, we just say that finding the lot lines is on them and not on us. And so if they get it in the wrong location, that it has to be moved, it's on them. Otherwise, if they want to know exactly where the lot line is, they just have to have it surveyed.
Right.
If they don't know where the pins are.
Yeah.
And a lot of times surveys are not necessary. So in this case, it's not clear when you go back there anywhere close where the lot line is actually. It's just kind of no man's land there. So on that condition, we approve that. Then we had a building permit application by TBC Marine to make a 60-foot by 200-foot building on that new lot they got from the city. They would like to put it on the very southern edge of that lot. However, the corner, because it's a curve around that corner, it really restricts where they can put it. But according to the rules, they need to stay 25 feet away from the right-of-way, which is, I think, around 10 feet on that area. But he was going to check on that. And so the map he drew was nebulous again. It just said approximately 50 feet from the two sides, and that's kind of subjective, we felt. And so we put a condition on there that the building is at least 25 feet from the right-of-way on the east and south sides, because that happens to be a kind of a corner lot, and so you can't use the south side as a side lot line, which would be nice for them, but he can't. And so we would, with that condition, we recommend that you approve of it. And then we had a concrete permit application for 42 Kamnick Street.
I think we should deny that one.
I thought so too.
Flat out denied.
Just flat out denied. Well, we thought about that because it came in late.
I find that hard to believe.
By Don Bajolski to make a 10 by 10 foot cement slab. It's a concrete permit, and we approved it 4-1. We did have one abstention, which was appropriate, we felt. Either that or he had to bid no. That was his options. So 4-1, we recommend that approval on that one also. And that's the ones that we had.
Okay. If I could get a motion to approve the permits.
Make a motion to approve all the permits?
Gary makes a motion, second.
I'll second.
Kyle seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Jeff. The next thing we have on our agenda is the golf course expansion update. So just to kind of let everybody know that I had Al Hoheisel come in and also Zach Bart, and they are going to give us an update on the golf course. And out of, if both of you guys want to sit up here, that'd be awesome. So first, if I think I might have did some introductions the last meeting, but you guys, this is Al Hoheisel. This is Sarah Fighton, and Gary Berg, and Kyle. You know pretty much everybody. So. Oh, just before we start, everybody in your packets, I had Bob make us copies of the golf course where the seating is, and then where the rest of the stuff is. So, and you can share mine, Kyle, if you don't have it.
I got it right here.
Okay. So you can look at that map while we're getting our update.
So basically, we've been seeding since the 1st of September. I think it's been the 1st.
Yep. And we started in the back, and we're working our way towards Park Avenue,
From the east side to the west.
east to the west, yep. And as of right now, we got 12 done, part of 10 done, 15 done, 16 done, and part of 13 done.
And then all the greens are seeded.
All the greens are seeded. So where we're sitting right now, I'd say we're at about the halfway point
Okay.
of everything being seeded and done on the whole east end.
And just to let everybody know, excuse me, Zach, just to let everybody know that they're starting from the farthest east and working to the west. So the last stuff that'll be done is behind like Al's dad's place, behind Dennis's
Yep,
house.
along the county road and towards Park Avenue would be the last corner that's gonna get finished.
Those are the access points, so.
Right. So we don't want to drive over stuff when we seed it.
you know. And hopefully this fall yet, we can get the rest of the dirt screened out, the dirt placed where we needed it. So whatever we don't get, because me and Zach were talking about maybe doing some frost seeding yet, getting some of 13 done or maybe 14 done, frost seeding yet. And then we can come back next spring, have the dirt piles where we need them, spread them out and seed, and we should be done within a month and a half, hopefully. Springtime comes, and we'll be completed with the rest of it.
Good question.
Oh, yes, Jim.
On this map, it says seeded, everything east of the line, but then there's these crosshatched ones, that's what you intend to seed?
That's
this
prepped,
fall?
yep.
That's,
That's
Getting prepped right
the-
now.
being prepped now, and the rest of it might not be prepped this fall? Is that what you're saying?
that,
Well, go ahead.
the hash marks is what we possibly will get frost seeded. So it's seeding it after the ground temperatures will go below 50 degrees, and then it'll be ready to go next spring and hopefully it can come up. So, but we're pretty much after this week, we're done seeding, because anything we seed now could come up, but then doesn't have a good root structure, and then it dies on us. So then you want to wait till it's cold enough to seed the rest of it.
Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Thank you.
But then you hope to have a lot more dirt work leveled out and ready then, so that
Yep.
when spring comes around, we can throw some seed and.
And as we've been going, Al's been doing the major dirt work. I get to the tees and I got to prep the tees, get them shaped properly, leveled, make sure the sprinklers are in the right spot. And so he's bringing dirt when I need dirt or taking away dirt with the bigger equipment while I do with the smaller stuff, and with Brad helping me as well. And Jim's been out there a few times, but Jim's been stepping up and taking care of the other 9 so that I can be out there, because he knows what's going on over there. And so anyways, as we go, we find things that, aren't quite, we need to change this shape a little bit because it just ain't gonna work with how water's gonna flow after you add dirt to it. And so it's as we go. And so if we get to the point where we're done seeding, yes, we can maybe get ahead and try and get some of that stuff leveled out and ready to go. That's so when it comes next spring, we're not taking as much time doing that stuff.
And then Al was telling me this morning too, Kyle, that they're gonna, the dirt, so when they separate the black dirt or sift it, they're gonna put the piles so next spring, they'll put the piles where they're gonna work, so it'll be easy to spread it, it'll be ready to go, so they don't have to
So we
haul
ain't
stuff.
hauling it.
Yeah,
Try
that's a great idea.
Get them spread out so we can just come push them off and seed.
Okay.
You guys are wondering about the dozer. I think we're about done with the dozer work. There might be a few more days next spring possibly, but I mean, if we have to, we can do it with front end loaders. That'd be behind, it'd be on number 18 fairway.
Bob Bozer's house there, where we're gonna have some shaping that needs to be
But-
pushed out.
If we have a dozer, we have a dozer. If not, it's not the end of the world.
Any questions, Gary?
The irrigation's up and pressurized, it's been up and pressurized for, I don't know, a little over a month now, I suppose, but as we get to areas and we start running those sprinklers more, we always get into ones that have dirt issues and we gotta clean them out, and I'd like to have gone ahead and checked them all, but it's either we seed or we do that,
Somebody
so.
runs over one.
Or somebody runs over one.
Otherwise, we're not having a problem getting enough water to the areas that are seeded now and are growing,
Not
keeping up.
It's
and-
initial, yeah, getting things going, like you'll pop them up and then realize that sprinkler's weak and realize there's stuff caught in the rock screen, so you gotta shut the system down and clean that out, because when they installed it, there's open pipes everywhere and stuff gets in there.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's hard to tell. I'd like to go ahead and check every single one. We did to a point, they all turn on and off, but sometimes there's stuff that hasn't made it to the sprinkler yet, and so then that, as you start watering day after day, it starts causing
Shows up
problems.
right there for sure.
So we've had to, trudge out there after you got nice seed and kind of make a little bit of a mess, but you got to fix it, because if you don't, it doesn't water properly, so. And then putting the right, some have 21 gallon a minute sprinkler and some are 40 gallons a minute, so it's changing out because they're trying to get all the seed wet. So we'll put a bigger head in there for now just to get it done, get all the seed watered and where we don't need it. So there's a lot of putsy stuff trying to get that all working right.
Sure.
Let's see.
Do we have to do anything to kind of secure the open dirt areas if they're not seeded by winter? Is there anything we gotta do to secure
We might have to
that?
cover some of the piles.
And I can kind of address that. I'll talk about Corey Treader and stuff
Yeah.
too. I can kind of fill everybody in.
Sure.
One thing I was going to say, any you guys, anybody wants to come, we have 8 o'clock meetings on Monday mornings. If you guys, Kyle too, if anybody's got any questions, it's usually Donnie, me, and then Bob, and then Al and Zach and Bradley and whoever's working out there at the time. We did also encourage the park board members to do the same thing, because Donnie and I have learned a lot going to those meetings, and they're very informative, and it gives you an idea what's happening out there, and you learn to appreciate what everybody's doing out there too by going to those meetings. So you're encouraged, you guys, if you want to come out to those meetings. And
If anybody wants to see what progress we made or going on too, get a hold of me. We can go out there and show you what we were doing and what we did or what we did that day or whatever.
Yep, Al's been really good to work with. Okay, so I think that's it, you guys, huh?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank
For
you.
the update.
Thank you so much. So what I'd like to do next is, on that note,
Yeah.
yep, we'll see,
Yeah.
Al, is to cover a couple of changes. The first one is that Al Hoheisel, I just want to kind of cover this, and if I could get a motion. The first one is for Al Hoheisel's taking over the supervisory role of the new nine, with Zach's assistance. They're really going to be working hand in hand, but we felt we had to have somebody take the number one role, and that would be Al. So if I could get a motion on that.
I'll make the motion.
Donnie makes the motion to put Al in as a supervisory role.
I'll second.
Kyle seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to put Al Hoisel in the supervisory role of the new nine. Then, as Al stated, and we'll talk about the next segment, is that for the most part, the dozer work is over for 2023, and Al would contact Bob Bogonic probably next spring if he needs any additional help with the course, and we'll cover that a little bit as far as the dozer sale. I discussed it with Bob, and we felt that we probably could. We don't really need it anymore. The next thing that I would like to have a vote on is we started working with Corey Treader, and would assume the MPCA compliance reporting. We felt that it was him kind of not necessarily on the project day to day. It's nice having somebody from the outside coming in and working hand in hand with everybody as far as the compliancy goes. And the other, anyway, so if I could get a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Donnie makes a motion to have Corey Treader assume the MPCA compliance.
Second it.
Gary seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. With that, we're going to have Dave Sayre. He's going to clean up the hill by hole number 1. When you drive in the course, you can kind of see it. Dave's going to take a crew out there, and we're going to get it cleaned up, and hopefully seed it, I believe, Zach, right? We're going to work at spray seed, I think, so we can get that good cover for the winter too. And then the last thing is that we moved the opening. We revised the opening of the course to 2025. We just want to make sure we're not going to get it all seeded this year, but we should be able to get it seeded the next couple of months earlier in the spring. But we just want to make sure ready to open, so we moved our target date to 2025, which I think is very realistic. So that is that. So do we, okay, do you want me to cover the dozer thing, Bob? Is that okay?
It's up to you, sure.
Is that okay? What I'd like to talk about is just putting a vote together to sell the cat, the dozer. What I'd like to do is we're debating. I think we put it on gov.com. We're still trying to formulate a price point that we want to be at. And I'm thinking that Donnie and I and Bob can get together and come up with a price point to post on that as far as a range, a high and a low, and a reserve. So if I could just get a motion for that.
I'll make the motion to sell the cat.
Okay, Donnie makes a motion to sell the cat.
Second that.
Gary seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think that's it, Bob.
So then we do have the tamper and we have an extra
Oh,
cooler.
sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead. If you want, we have a tapper and also, what was the other thing?
Extra cooler at the
Oh, yeah, the
clubhouse.
cooler. So, Tony was working with the different coolers we got at the clubhouse, and we have one that's just, it's kind of sitting there, we're not utilizing it. We had to buy a new cooler this year, and because one broke, and it was big enough to put everything in it, so we kind of have an extra one. And we felt that we could sell that cooler, and then also sell a tapper to also, just to get a couple more dollars back in the budget to help with the 9 holes. So I guess I need a motion for
Are
that.
they also going to go on the gov deals?
Those would as well, correct.
I'll make the motion to sell those, the tapper and a cooler.
Okay, Donnie makes a motion to sell the tapper and cooler.
Second that.
Gary seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carried to sell the tapper and the cooler. Is that it, Bob? Are we good?
I was just going to mention too, Eric Hennigan's working on that, the extra squad car that he has, and he was going to go to open bids, but he's actually thinking now of going to govdeals.com, so that might be on there as well. So I know
Oh.
the council already moved forward with
Yep.
releasing
Good.
that.
Okay. Well, I think my man Jared is up. Jared wants to cover a resolution 2023-0925-1. It's a resolution for receiving report and calling for a hearing on our, I believe on our road project that we have coming up.
That is correct. First, before we get to the resolution, not all of you were here when we presented the feasibility study, and kind of part of the calling for a public hearing is also updating and providing another kind of an overview of that study. So tonight in your packet, there should be our feasibility study that was prepared back in, well, it's been a while, but over a year. But essentially, we'll just kind of go through it again, just so everyone is up to date on it. This project, or this feasibility study, was authorized by the city of Pierz and the RIPSA, or Rich Prairie Sewer and Water District. The original feasibility study was kind of broken up into 3 sectors. The north sector, which included Division Street, Casper, sorry, not Casper, Capsner, Edwards, and 4th Avenue North, East, and West. The west sector was also Vincent Street, Summer Street, 1st Avenue Southwest, and Cassie Alley. The east sector was 1st Avenue Northeast, Peter Avenue, and Oak Street. Since we have presented this study, we've kind of pulled back a little bit on that on overall project. Now the north sector was completely eliminated. The west sector is Summer Street, 1st Avenue Southwest, and Cassie Alley, and the east sector is 1st Avenue Northeast and Peter Avenue. So those will kind of be the portions I'll kind of highlight as we go through this, and we won't worry about the rest of them. But essentially, this feasibility study was kind of brought up and put together because the streets and the utilities have been deteriorating. Another thing that we're looking for this study is to improve drainage and then also pedestrian access and ADA requirements throughout the project area. Starting with if we want to kind of look at, jump to figure one. Figure one shows all the projects, kind of the original projects areas for each sector. You can see in there all the streets that I listed earlier are highlighted in here. So jump to the west sector. Summer Street and the existing road width of Summer Street, kind of talking overall street stuff now. The existing footprint of Summer Street was a 32-foot wide road width with existing curb, no gutter, sidewalk on both sides of the road on the south portion of that, and then only on the west side for the north portion. With previous soil borings, there was roughly 2 inches of existing bituminous over 14 to 20 inches of aggregate base. The First Avenue Southwest, that has essentially almost the same footprint, that 32 to 36 foot wide footprint. There was no curb and gutter on that one, and then there was no sidewalk also on that one. What we saw in previous soil borings for that one was a 3-inch bituminous pavement over a fill section that wasn't exactly desirable, so that indicates more of a topsoil than an aggregate base subsoil. Cassie Alley had an existing bituminous width of 14 feet. Obviously, with Alley, there was no curb and gutter and sidewalk on that one as well. So our plan for that one, we're proposing, if you want to turn to figure number 3, we are proposing that First Avenue Southwest be a 36-foot wide curb and gutter with a sidewalk along the south side of the road. That 36-foot wide will match our tie-in point at Roberts, where we reconstructed a few years back. Was that
2013.
13? Okay, not 16? Okay. So that'll match that width, essentially right outside our city hall here tonight. Summer Street will be a 32-foot wide road, curb and gutter, and in this case, we will be removing both sidewalks on that south stretch, but only putting back sidewalk on the east stretch. And that'll be to maintain access to that park, keep that kind of a continuous access for that part. The north stretch, that sidewalk was recently installed. I believe that was also 13.
Yes.
And so that's still in fairly good conditions. And so we will be leaving that in place, other than in areas where we need to tie our laterals for our services in place, the sanitary, sewer, and water services. Those areas we will be patching, more or less, right? You can look back at now still on figure 2 here, or sorry, figure 3. The section that we were proposing to put back on both of these is a 3.5 inches of bituminous over 8 inches of class 5 and on top of that is a 12-inch select granular base. Any questions so far on kind of the street, what we got planned for the west sector? There wasn't, jumping over the storm now, as far as existing, there isn't, in the streets that we are now paring it down to, there isn't too much for existing storm. With the addition of our curb and gutter, we now have the opportunity to extend storm throughout this area and improve our drainage. So that is the plan. As far as existing, there is a 12-inch that runs down Cassie Alley, and it comes from, I'm trying to blank on the name of the bank, but it comes from the bank that's down.
Farmers and Merchants.
Was it?
The bank?
The bank, yeah.
Yeah, Farmers and Merchants.
Farmers and Merchants. It's coming from there. Essentially, that parking lot is kind of where that drainage area starts. And it comes down and eventually works its way down Cassie Alley. So the intent with this project is without the existing drainage, without the existing storm sewer, all that kind of was surface draining throughout the project area. Now with the project that we're proposing with this one, we will be extending up Summer, and then kicking it over down First Avenue Southwest as well. That all of this was planned when we redid Park. So the connection point is sized properly for us to extend storm up that direction. Would you want me to touch on the sanitary and water with that being more ripsaw? There are some city costs with the water, but I can touch that briefly if you guys like to. Okay. All right. So for the most part, the existing sanitary sewer is a clay pipe, with the opportunity now to, and we do have there, that is a deteriorating material. So we are taking the opportunity to replace that clay pipe with an 8-inch PVC, and also upgrading the laterals with a 4-inch PVC throughout the project area. Water main through this stretch was the original cast iron water main. So we are also taking the opportunity to upgrade that cast iron to ductile. Take that back. Upgrade to a PVC. As far as a city component for the water main, the city, their portion is the hydrants, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Jumping now to the east sector, which is First Avenue Northeast and Peter Avenue. The existing width of First Avenue Northeast is 34 foot wide with concrete curb, no gutter, and sidewalk is located on the north side of the street. The existing part of that sidewalk was also in that 2013 project, so we intend to leave those areas alone and replace essentially from the alley east of the gas station to Edwards. I believe that ped ramp was also replaced recently, so I think we're going to try to leave that alone if possible. That existing section is 2 to 2.5 inches of bituminous over 8 to 10 inches of aggregate base. Peter Avenue is a little wider. It's a 38 foot wide footprint. Concrete curb, but no gutter. Sidewalk is not present on either side. Soil borings indicated 2 inches of bituminous over 14 inches of aggregate base. So pretty good section there. Our plan, now if you want to turn to figure 4, I believe. Yes, so this is the east sector, typical sections. First Avenue Northeast will continue to have it that 36 foot wide footprint, but we are planning to widen a good chunk of that road for up to an additional 6 feet for parking. During our preliminary talks for this feasibility study, there was a request to widen the road due to parking based off of, the gas station, auto body shop, kind of right there. I assume the church has enough parking, but that could also be a potential as well for additional parking. But that is the reasoning for the widening of the road on First Avenue Northeast. And like I mentioned, we plan to replace probably half of that sidewalk that wasn't done in the 2013 project. That will be also on the north side of the road. Peter Avenue will remain a 38 foot wide road, curb and gutter on both sides, no sidewalk. The typical section of those two streets is the same as the west sector, 3.5 inches of bituminous over 8 inches of class 5 and 12 inches of select granular. As far as storm sewer goes, this sector these roads are pretty flat in our experience, and the reason some of these are deteriorating are due to how flat they are and water sitting. So the thought here is to kind of do some little centerline profile changes, increase the grade, allowing for that water to move and not just sit and get in through our section. In order to do that, we may need to extend storm sewer on both of these. First, we will try to introduce high points. First Avenue Northeast does have existing storm sewer on both ends, so by introducing a high point in the middle, increasing that profile, allowing it to sheet. Now, that may be a solution depending on grades. We might not be able to make that happen. So for this feasibility study, we introduced our planning for a low point, which would have to be extend storm sewer onto First Avenue. And it's kind of the same process for Peter as well. Peter has storm sewer on both sides.
So that's just possible that we might be able to get away with it by just raising the center.
Correct. Yep.
Which would save some money.
Yes, extending storm sewer is always, and there'd be that cost that you would save there. Yep. And there wouldn't be any additional cost as far as street. It'd just be the storm sewer that would be the additional point. And as far as sanitary water, sanitary sewer, and water main, same concepts apply there. The original clay pipe that's deteriorating for sanitary sewer, and then the original cast iron for water. I believe some of that might be undersized as well, but same concept, replacing with the PVC sewer for the water main. Now to the point that you probably care about the most, talking dollars here. I believe we attached our updated sheets. They were kind of towards the end after the feasibility study was put together. Overall, for both sectors of the project, we are looking at a $2,189,552 for construction only. As far as total project costs, we're looking at $3,142,008.20. Are you able to find that?
Yeah, is that what you're looking at? I'm looking at the long list. Is that in the appendix, or is that the farther up in the sheet?
Oh,
It's on page 54.
Huh?
Page 54?
What page?
53.
54.
54? Okay.
It's, yeah. On the,
Unless Sarah was lying to us.
Oh, got it. Okay, I'm just not quite far enough.
I don't lie.
54?
Is that the one you're looking at here? So the 3.1 for the total?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Typically, projects like these are part of the financing is through special assessments, a 429 process, which every city has the right to do. And so with that, we've kind of made the assumption that that is how city plans to move forward. As far as street and storm assessments go, city policy is to assess up to 60% of the total project cost on an adjusted front footage basis. And then also 100% of new curb anywhere where there's new curb. Not existing curb before, but new curb now. So in this case, that would be only First Avenue Southwest. Would be that 100%. The rest, the other locations are that 6%, that curb is rolled into that 60%. But it has been the city's kind of practice in the last few years to only assess 16% of total project cost.
That's what you had figured in, Bob, I think, right? We
Yeah.
were talking about that today?
Yes. Yeah. And so based off of that, that's what we are presenting here. 16% for street and storm sewer, and then 100% for new curb areas. I'm gonna make sure I have the right numbers here. All right, so that would total project cost then for the street and storm sewer would be that roughly 2.2 million. Of that, the assessments would be $331,875. And then RIPSA is also a party here where they have their right to do their same assessment. They kind of have a little different where it's more of a set rate. It's kind of how their practice has been, which is $1,400 for water main I think it's actually for both. Yeah, $1,400 roughly for both water and sanitary, each, and then different prices based on the service size for those. So, jumping down to now this sheet right here. It's one of the attachments probably after that estimate that we have. Looking at what we have updated, we updated the tables in the feasibility study. Showing now, table 5 is the big one at the end here. Total estimated project cost. Estimated city cost is $1,874,888. City assessments would be what I mentioned before, that $331,875.74. Total RIPSA cost on this project, $773,701.92. And then the assessable cost for the RIPSA portion of the project would be $161,550, with the grand total again being that $3,142,008.20. Also attached are updated preliminary assessment worksheets where you can kind of look through and see the individual assessments per parcel. That was ranging anywhere from probably 2.5, maybe 3,000, to I think the largest one is probably but I guess either the city one at the park or the church, and that's where it's at. So, with that is kind of the quick and dirty version, I guess, of the feasibility study. I'm happy to answer any questions before we maybe move on to that resolution.
I think you did a good job covering it. I'm relatively new at this kind of stuff, so I don't know if Kyle, you got any questions on it at all? I think that's what we kind of briefly discussed, right? We took out that one project, right?
The north sector, essentially?
Yeah,
Yep.
we got it figured in there, just the drawings and all of that.
Correct, yeah. Those drawings weren't updated, just the financials at the end.
Right, good.
Correct.
How about you, Gary? You got anything? Sarah? Donnie?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I think we got a good, so we have to set a date. Do we have to approve that resolution, Bob? Is that kind of the deal? And then, so if I get a motion to approve that resolution, and then we'll have to approve a date for the public hearing. So if I get a motion to approve the resolution 2023-0925-1.
Make a motion to approve it.
Gary's making a motion to approve it. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Donnie seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for resolution 2023-0925-1. Then we have to, I'd like to discuss a date for a public hearing. So I'm thinking like October 23rd. So what we would do is we'd open up our regular meeting, and then we would then close it and have a public hearing. And then when we're done with the public hearing, we would reopen the meeting. So if I could get a motion to have that public hearing, unless any of you guys got a question on that or thoughts? Does that work for?
Is that a long enough time typically,
Oh, one meeting?
if we do it during a meeting?
Yeah. Most communities, that's what they do as well.
You got any questions, Kyle? You okay with it?
Yep.
So if I get a motion to have a public hearing date for resolution 2023 for October 23rd.
I'll make that motion.
Kyle's making a motion. A second?
I'll second it.
Gary seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carried to have a public hearing October 23rd for the resolution 2023-0925-1. And we made the we made the motion to receive this feasibility study, right?
That's
So
the
we're good with
resolution,
that.
correct.
Okay. So I think they're done with that.
Yeah, of note, Donnie, the thought is to have, or we will try to have and I think that's what our plan is, to kind of have a neighborhood informational meeting, kind of a week before our public hearing,
Okay.
to address, hopefully to take on most of those questions that people may have.
Lay it all
Not
out like
everyone's
we always
comfortable
do.
coming into a setting like this. At that point, at that meeting, we can have that one-on-one conversation, present any preliminary assessments they may have that, they want to discuss. I think maybe we want to talk about the project as a whole in general. It's kind of what that meeting's for.
Yep.
So we don't always get the best turnout for that, but it's there in case people
They want to learn.
want to, yes.
Yep.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, that should be it for that one. Am I up next, or am I coming
Gravel,
back?
you got the gravel
Gravel
pit.
Okay. All right.
Just keep talking.
I know, you
Just
get
keep
go from good to better.
The last few have been really quick, so it's
Yeah, I know it. I never knew you could talk so fast, Jared. You should be in sales.
no. Well, I don't know about that. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next one then is the 2023 gravel pit reclamation and environmental study. This was one that I believe back in, was it May, April, that we were asked to put together by council. So I will kind of just jump right into it here for you. This is the gravel pit just east of town, by the way. I think everyone here is aware of where it's at. So I don't think I need to dig into it too much. But the first part of this study was attachment A, kind of the larger chunk of this study, and that was the phase 1 environmental assessment. In your packet, you have the much pared down version of this. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the original submittal, but I think this overall study, or this the assessment here, I think was 800 pages. And there's a lot of attachments to it. There's a lot of digging that they do. So I don't want to bring in any injustice by making this short and sweet. But overall, this assessment did not reveal any wrecks, or let me jump back here. Actually, let me explain what a wreck is. During their study, essentially in the phase 1 study, what we looked into a wreck, which is a recognized environmental concern. Essentially, any type of contamination that you can find, any evidence of any leaks, anything that might get into the subgrade or the subsoils of the area. Controlled wrecks and also historical wrecks, like dig into the history of the site. If there was in this case, that there wasn't any gas stations at the site at one point, but that's something that we look into as far as that. Through this assessment, there was no wrecks or any type of contamination that was noted. While that is the case, there were some solid waste on site that were observed during the process. Kind of quickly running through what was there. There was brick, timber, miscellaneous metal products, wheel rims, lawnmowers, PVC pipe, concrete, tires. All this dumping, it seems to be all surface related, nothing that indicates any additional concerns. But it is recommended that when we redevelop the area, obviously those be removed as part of the process. So with that, like I said, they didn't find anything that was of note, and so a phase 2 environmental study is not recommended for this site. I do want to point out that part of this process is interviewing, going through interviews, and one of those interviews was going to be with the current owner on Knife River. They have elected to not participate in that interview until there is a purchase agreement in place, which they have every right to. It actually kind of is typical that is the process. But based off everything we've dug into, there is no concerns with not having that phase 2. Any questions on the phase 1 environmental study? I believe one of the questions we brought this was any environmental liens. I think that was one thing that Jackie brought up. There were none on site for this site, so that was one thing that we did look into. Attachment B was the boundary survey. This one's pretty straightforward. Just doing some due diligence on making sure that when we do move forward with that purchase agreement, we have an understanding of what we're actually purchasing, as far as the total size. Selecting a parcel on Beacon isn't always as accurate as it may seem. So for this one, there actually is two parcels. The larger one, which is the majority of the gravel pit, is 31.67 acres. And there is a smaller parcel number 2, of the property, in the subject property here, kind of in the northwest corner there, that is 1.99 acres. I will kind of leave this open for now. The only thing we have left to do for our boundary survey is we do have to submit some corner certs and establish these corners with the county, nothing more with the city. So there's no more site visits, no more anything like that. So that's the only thing left that we have open with that one. That's a very minor. There's nothing that usually comes back with those. It's more of a submittal for those. So moving on now to the wetland attachment number 3, attachment C, the wetland delineation report. This was one that we had, the city had asked us to start, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It's been a while.
It's been a while that we started and then essentially did not finalize due to the timeline of when the city will be moving forward with purchasing the site. Now that we have kind of a more established timeline of what we think we might, as far as purchasing that property, we elected to finish the delineation report, and that is in your packet here with attachment number C, or letter C. Upon completion of this report, there were 14 aquatic resources on the property. Only one of those were identified as a wetland. And in the beginning of the attachment here is the notice of decision that the WACA TEP board has provided, essentially agreeing with our delineation and saying that of the 14 aquatic resources on this site, only one of those qualify to be called a wetland. And that is, I believe, wetland 8. If you figure 7, the way at the end, this one here, it's the one.
Where's that? Can you show me that again?
It's the second to essentially the last page. Last page would be in the cover or the cap end. As far as overall, I'm not quite sure what that actual page number is for you and your packet.
21.
121.
What's that?
121.
Okay, got it.
121. Figure 7 there. So you can see all of the noted aquatic resources on the site, but only one, the wetland number 8 in the lower or the kind of the southeast quadrant there. That's the only one that was that can qualify for a wetland. This I do want to note that the delineation or the notice of decision is valid for 5 years. Getting an extension on those 5 years isn't difficult. It happens frequently. But I do want to make that note that this is valid for 5 years.
Okay.
Now, if when I say extension, I mean a couple of years, not like 15, right? So just keep that in mind moving forward through the process. Any questions on the wetland delineation report?
You guys?
No.
Okay. I think I did, let me quick, I didn't mention the size of that wetland 8. Talking with city staff, we don't think that will be an issue as far as impacting that wetland at all. It's kind of in a location where in all of our preliminary drawings we're kind of avoiding anyway. But of note, wetland number 8 is about a half acre in size,
Okay.
lower half acre. So,
That's where the river floods,
yeah.
Oh, is it?
so you would not do anything there.
Yeah, and that's the only one that we'd really have to be concerned with is with that one. And we can't do nothing there anyway, Zach.
Yep. Okay. Alrighty. And then the last attachment here, attachment D, is our reclamation requirement and assistance. We were asked, obviously, the end goal is to put together a reclamation plan. In order to do that, first we needed to kind of understand what the requirements are. So currently, this property is outside of city limits, so under the jurisdiction of the county. Their requirements for a reclamation plan are highlighted in red, pink on these pages. Essentially, the big one that we may have interest in is the completion of the reclamation plan needs to happen within 12 months of ceasing of operations, which that would be triggered as soon as the city purchases this property. During discussions with the county, they are well aware that the city has planned to purchase this property, annex it into the city, and then redevelop it into, parks, kind of, extending the campground or parks, things like that. So, all signs point to them working with the city with that in mind, with the thought that it won't be in their jurisdiction. It'll now be in the city's jurisdiction. So the thought is that as long as there's a plan kind of put in place, they're willing to work with us and this is things that we need to move forward with, but be pretty lenient on those 12 months. Because I know that the thought is that we don't want to do any, say, reclamation. We want to leave the site as is until we have a plan in place of how we want to develop that, which can more than likely will take longer than 12 months. Bringing the site into city limits, though, can be done within that 12 months. There should be a process that could be handled within that 12 months after purchasing.
But at that stage, it's the city's responsible to bring it into compliance, not the seller.
At which stage? Once it's annexed into the city?
Well, or once the city purchases it,
Once the city purchases it, then it's the city's responsibility, yes, to
bring it into compliance, not the seller.
correct.
Okay.
Yes. That is my understanding of part of the purchase agreement. That they are going to be selling the site as is, and it's going to be the city's responsibility to then take over that plan. Their plan is on the next page, where it says the reclamation plan. I'm not even going to try to pronounce
There's a
what-
bill of pit
Yeah.
reclaim?
That one, correct. It essentially matches, the county's ordinance, word for word. So that is the current reclamation plan for the site. And like I said, the county, all signs point to them being willing to work with the city with the thought that it's going to be annexed into the city, and then it's going to be under the city's jurisdiction, not the county's. So with essentially completing that reclamation plan. And at that time, once it's brought into the city has jurisdiction and can do what they want, I guess.
Right.
Without saying, going legal terms, I guess. They have then the authority to kind of do what they want, and if they want to extend that reclamation plan, the completion date, until whenever we have a plan, then that's possible. I do want to note that there are on this site, there definitely are locations that do not meet the requirements as is. There are some areas that are not stable. If you want to look at, I left this open so I can look at this on the boundary survey. This is probably the largest aerial we have. I'll hold it up for you. This kind of corner right here of the project, as you can see, there is a downslope down into the pit, and it's still kind of exposed, not really stable there. And also that doesn't match that 3-to-1 requirement. The back side of the property over here, it's also steeper than 3-to-1, but that has been stabilized. There's existing trees growing there. There's lots of vegetation. So that could be one area where I feel the county will be more lenient in that, as far as the slopes have already been stabilized for multiple years. It's not just this past year. So there's established growth there. And that could be an area that we could potentially leave in place and not have to really do anything until the time comes. So with that, the last kind of thing I want to talk about with the kind of the requirements once it gets brought into the city, though, the reason there is that 3-to-1 in place is not only for the stabilization as it kind of lends it in the county's ordinance. There also is a public safety factor that you got to think about. If once you bring that into the city then takes on those liabilities, those responsibilities. And so I kind of mentioned in here, as far as our next steps, the city coordinate with their legal team and kind of determine how they want to address that. If it's something that the legal is comfortable with leaving steeper than 3-to-1s until we have a plan in place, or if they're more inclined to have that 12 months, that's a discussion I think we should have from a public safety standpoint once you bring that into the city. The very last part of this attachment is kind of a draft ordinance for what the city could put into place as far as a mining and a extractive land use kind of ordinance. I don't, at this time, I don't think I would recommend bringing this ordinance into the city's policy. I think that this property, with the intent to put it into more of a park than actually being a mining site, I think we can just move it into that zone it as that park, or I think that's what our campground is currently, right? Is it public area and parks? I think it's kind of,
Public area for sure.
and just bring it right into that. But there was discussion on potential locations throughout the city that a mining ordinance might come into play. So we brought it into this study as a first glance to what maybe you want to look for in the future, as far as being able to monitor, limit, control mining activity in the city. So, and the big one there, again, the last page there would be that number 7, land reclamation, would be, for the most part, matches what the county has in play. We did do, when we were putting this together, we did look at, I believe, 3 cities and 2 counties to kind of look through and create one for this draft. With that kind of concludes the presentation for this study. Do you have any questions on next steps or anything that we did, and then also next steps kind of moving forward?
Well, I don't have any questions. Our goal, as far as I'm concerned, right now we're a one project at a time person. At least I am, and I'd really, Jared, like to get the golf course wrapped up before
Right.
we move on. The only exception would be is if we pick up some type. It'd have to be a fairly large
Grant.
That'd be the
Which-
only way I'd be really interested.
Yeah, I think the plan is to also, I think, in the past, we've only applied for one, correct? But next year, we will be going for the DNR outdoor recreational grant as well, I believe.
That's for discussion, I guess. The
well,
park board's
yeah.
talked about it.
I want to look at the numbers exactly and see how much it actually is. I know it's a matching grant, but it's going to be fairly substantial, I think. But, but I'm willing, I'm sure that we all are willing to obviously look at it and
Mhm.
see where it goes. But
Okay.
and we got the road project too coming up next year, so
Right.
we got our hands full.
A lot going on in Pierz
To
these
say
days.
the least, yeah. So, but it looks, that it's some great work and it's good stuff we can reflect on, and look at it.
Yeah, like I said, these are the attachment A and C that were in your packet. They are actually a lot larger than the 20-some pages that were in your packet.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have time and lonely nights, you can definitely look at those.
If we need to get to sleep at night.
Right, yeah.
We can read them. So thank you. Yeah, we knew you had a lot more into it. Bob was nice enough to tell us that and say that you condensed it down for us, which is good.
All right. All right, well, if there's no more questions, I appreciate your time tonight.
We good?
I don't think
Thank
there's no
you.
action needed on this one, just more of a present the information for you.
Yep,
So.
thank you so much. Appreciate
Right.
it, Jared.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing we have is the preliminary budget and levy. And I don't know if Kyle, if you could you've kind of been through this before, if you can kind of cover it, what's kind of going on?
Yeah, so I think basically we have to set our preliminary levy, and then Bob, I think, has to just submit that to the county. Is that right, Bob?
Correct.
Basically by the end of the month. Once we set that, we can't go up in the levy. So you can go down though, right? You can change it, you can lower it. So I think tonight is just really doing what we talked about at the workshop 2 weeks ago. We kind of went through all of the discussion that the finance committee had really evaluated the budget and what we're trying to do to kind of balance that out. And so we had proposed a 9% increase in the levy this year, with the intention to do a little more digging here by the end of the year to see if there's any way we can do less than that. Bob will look at, he's maybe sent some information here, I just haven't had a chance to review it, but we're going to look to see how that will even affect households, because if we have an increase in our tax base, it's possible that we may not have much of a tax hit to our residents and or businesses. So we'll be able to hopefully look at that a little bit more, just haven't done that. So tonight I think is just setting it with the intention that we'll continue to kind of look at that before we have to really finalize that. But we believe that we better go with 9% tonight, or at least that's Finance Committee's recommendation, to really try and get ahead and try and make a dent in balancing out the budget. So we made good progress on the general fund. There's more to do with the fire fund and some other ones. So that's really what we're proposing tonight.
I'll say, I think the way we figured the numbers, this really kind of just makes us break even across the board. It's not increasing anything in our budget. It's just with what we've been working with in the past, this just breaks us even. Because in the past few years, some departments have been working on a deficit, and you can't really have a budget with a
And this-
deficit in it. So this is just breaking even across the board.
Yeah, we're trying to
That's what our
balance
goal
out the
is.
budget, and really, this isn't even going to fully get us there,
No,
but
it's
a
as
step
close
in
as we can
a
get.
step in the right direction, as much as
Correct.
we felt we wanted to bite off this year. So
Right.
we'll keep working at it, keep evaluating. If there's other things we can, lower costs, we'll certainly look at those. But
Yeah, and like I think I've stated before, the council, we're gonna do our part and not take a raise. We haven't had a raise in 15 years, but you have to lead by example, and that's part of what that's part of our responsibility as a council. The other part that we looked at was we challenged our employees and their budgets, and we've had some positive things as far as equipment purchasing and different things that the city employees and the equipment, they've made some sacrifices. And so that the last piece of it is asking for that 9% levy. And I think we showed that we can work with it, and hopefully that works for everybody. That's the last leg of what we needed to do.
Right.
so then we just need a motion, Bob, to really set that.
Set the
9%.
preliminary levy.
You want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to set the preliminary levy increase at 9% then.
I'll second it.
Donnie seconds the motion to increase the levy, or put the levy at, set it at 9%. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to set the preliminary levy at 9%. Then we have, let's see, we got where am I
I
here?
think we got one more, truth and taxation.
Truth and taxation. Yep, so we need to set the date for the truth and taxation meeting, time and date. We were thinking doing it December 11th for that. If we could get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Cal makes the motion, second.
I second it.
Gary seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carried for first meeting is to be December 11th.
What
for the
time?
Truth and taxation. What,
We would just do it at 7 o'clock,
Right at
open our
7?
regular meeting, close
Sounds
it,
good.
public hearing.
yes, we open the meeting, then we close it for the truth and taxation. We have that, and then we open up our meeting.
Yep.
Then, next thing is considering rezoning application for 215 Third Avenue Northwest. That is Vernix residence. And so it is zoned commercial, and we just need to make a motion to look at rezoning it to residential at this point.
I'll make that motion.
Donnie makes a motion to rezone to residential.
I second it.
Gary seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carried to rezone 215 Third Avenue Northwest from commercial to residential. The next thing is the firefighter job description. So in the past, we never had a really good description of what the firefighters' duties are, their obligations, and of that nature, what their job description is. And I think it was Scoop and Scott.
Scott's there, yes.
Yeah, Scott. Yep. They worked together and came up, actually, I think, with a really, really nice job description. So I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you had a chance to read it or not, but we just need the approval to vote to make that their job description. If you want to take a moment to look at it. I've looked at it. It looks really nice, actually, I think. But
I'll make the motion to accept it.
okay, Don makes a motion to accept the firefighter job description.
I second it.
Gary seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
A motion, opposed? Motion carried for the firefighter job description. The next thing is we've had some changes in our garbage pickup. And actually, we have the new owner here, I believe. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Burghardt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come
You
to the
gotta
hot
sit-
seat.
Yeah, you guys sit in the hot seat. That's not going to be your last time, by the way, Chris. I'm just going to warn you ahead of time.
I'm Chris Burghardt from Little Falls, who just purchased Jack and Lori's sanitation company.
Welcome to Pierz.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So what we have is they had a meeting last week on how we're going to maybe change the process a little bit, which I personally think is fantastic because I'm going to let Bob, I think Bob can talk about it some more. But so as far as I'm concerned, I never was much of a recycling person because I didn't like tying strings around the cardboard. I was just lazy. So I never did it. Shame on me. But the new format that we have makes it real easy for everybody to recycle, which it's a win in every direction. And as a matter of fact, when I lived in a suburb by the cities, that's how we always did it, Chris, the same way that you're doing it. That's just the natural way of doing it, I feel. And
It's
just
the modern way now.
modern way.
Yeah.
That's right. Get with the times, right?
Yeah.
But it encourages recycling, which is to me is a huge positive aspect of it. So anyway, Bob, if you want to touch base on it, I
Sure,
guess, or
Chris,
Chris,
but-
or whatever, one of you guys, I'll let you.
Chris brought it to our attention that he has a different vendor than Pierz Sanitation used in the past, and this new vendor is able to handle that commingled recycling. So that's part of the reason why it's never happened in the past. So the process that Chris wants the city to start this coming Wednesday would be to allow everybody to commingle their recycling. And right now, he would just use, it's an old garbage truck, but it says recycling on it, and just the residents need to be assured that this material is taken to Browerville facility where the items are recycled. And the process right now, the city currently has the recycling rectangular bins. We would continue to use those. Right now, Eric Gafke is looking at estimates to the city to purchase recycling carts, 65-gallon carts, similar size as what we have, different colored lids, so you'd have a recycling bin and a garbage cart, same size. Until we get to that point, Chris would like to start this commingled recycling. And when the city finds bids for those recycle bins, our solid waste committee will meet again and then bring those carts to the city council on purchasing those and starting the process of using an automated truck to actually grab that recycling, bring it into the truck, and then move to the next one.
And same for garbage. We want to do with bringing an automated truck also to do all the cart tipping.
So the solid waste committee wanted to present this tonight, and if the council moves forward tomorrow, probably afternoon, I'll send out a one call, and I already got it. It's a 2.5 minute statement, but it's just kind of welcoming Chris and Jody to the Pierz. And and then going through the commingled recycling and then the carts that are coming.
So starting Wednesday, okay, so, and I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, so are you gonna be able to do both on Wednesday, or are we gonna do one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, Chris, or?
It would be same as is right now.
Perfect. And then we can take those little cartons, we got those plastic ones, we don't have to tie anything together anymore, just kind of.
Put everything in there
No more paper sacks.
currently.
Yeah, I didn't
Separating
even,
them.
Yeah, we dump it right into the truck and it gets all hand sorted out in a facility in Browerville.
that is awesome.
It's
And one-
actually one of the only places in central Minnesota that takes it that way. So we're very fortunate to have this company doing it. Because otherwise everybody else is down in the cities that does it that way. And costs to get it there, it's just not feasible. So
Yeah.
we're very lucky that they're willing to take it for a cost, yeah. But we feel that we can still collect it, mix it, and not change the rate as the current system is currently.
That's awesome. We will have probably incorporate a $1 fee though, Bob, I think.
The solid waste recommended that we increase the recycling rates by $1 just to help offset the cost of those carts.
To offset the cards.
Roughly 30 to 35,000 for those carts. A $1 increase per resident would generate roughly $5,000. So in 7 years, the city would recoup that cost.
Yep, and that's personally for me, I think that's a cheap cost to get more recycling and get everything done that way. It just, I think it's really a great.
You're
great,
gonna see participation's gonna go up. It's a given. But the way you're doing it now, there's 60% maybe?
Oh, I don't think I
recycling?
bet you're not even there. Probably 30%. I don't know. Do you see anybody doing it, Kyle, on yours?
Yeah, we got a few on our street.
Do you?
Everybody on my street does. I'm the only one there.
Well, that's 100%
There
on
you
your
go.
street, I
See,
guess.
I'm showing you.
Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But,
No, I just think it'll make it that much easier for residents, so this is a no-brainer, so.
Yep.
Any other discussion on it? Otherwise, I'll make the motion that we approve the commingled recycling and welcome Chris to town, and
Thanks.
we can start Wednesday. Bob will send out a one call, sounds like tomorrow.
Kyle makes a motion.
Second it.
Gary seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carried for the commingling of recycling. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris.
Thanks.
Welcome again.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see, then, now we got the department reports. We got Bob.
The other thing I was going to mention with Chris, starting October 4th, he's going to use his automated truck to pick up the garbage as well. So Chris and Jody were nice enough to put together a nice flyer, and likely we'll put that out this week to tell people to turn the wheels have to be towards the house to pick up with the
I'm
automated arm.
assuming most people put them that way because you wheel them backwards down the thing and you have the wheels, but I mean, it could be,
Actually, do it the other way. Yeah.
no, isn't the way it works?
Sideways, backwards.
Yeah.
That's way too easy.
There's a little training to it, but
Is
we'll
there?
get them straightened out.
How close to the road would you like it, Chris? Does it matter?
Curbside up on the curb is where.
Not on the
for-
driveway, on the curb.
Keep
On
it
the-
on the curb, or, keep it off the road.
Okay.
Our truck will reach out like 13 feet, so we can technically park next to a vehicle. The arm will extend. We got a distance where we can reach and grab them.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Makes it real convenient.
And then 3 feet around each cart, so he has enough room to grab, so away from mailboxes. And
Okay.
so this flyer will hopefully be in this week's to give everybody a week head start to get that situated on the garbage carts. And the other item I was going to bring up is the Small Cities Development Program. If the city is interested in participating in that, we have to apply for that grant. I know Jackie had discussed that in the past as far as being part of that. I just would like council support. I did have one person ask about it. There's been some other commercial people asking about it. We do have to have some kind of a residential component if the city does move forward with that grant. And then we can add on the commercial part, so.
I told Bob, I'm in favor of it, as long as we don't have to expend any of our city dollars for like writing up a thing for a grant or something. But I think it's a good idea. But I think Bob or Jackie, they need help with it. And I'm not gonna be able to help them with it, so somebody else maybe can. I don't know if I hate to put you on the,
Already told Jackie I would help out.
oh,
with-
there you go, Bob. We're ahead of the game, right?
Yeah,
So we just need a vote then that we want to do it.
if you're interested.
Do we need a minimum?
See, that's all part of the research process, and it's kind of starting from scratch for me on this end of it, as far as applying goes. In 2010, 2011, the city did have a fair amount of those
Right.
grants out there, but
Mostly business corridor, correct?
a fair amount of residential as well,
Was
yes.
it? Okay.
That's where they
15
were
to
getting-
20.
They were getting grants to redo the front of their building or
Mhm.
something like that.
So the residential grants was a $25,000 7-year forgivable loan. So you'd get $25,000 worth of improvements. If you live there for 7 years, it was fully forgiven. And if it's prorated if you move. The commercial end of it was a third, a third, a third. So it was a third owner, a third low interest loan, and a third forgivable loan. So it definitely improved a lot of businesses throughout town, so. But if Jackie's willing and the council has support, I'll work through that.
Yeah, so we just need a motion, I guess, and then if you guys are okay with it, and
Yeah,
Gary's
I'll make
okay
a
with-
motion.
Gary makes a motion.
I'll second.
Kyle seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then I did finalize the insurance for the shop blowdown that occurred last year, so that's been submitted finally to the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance. And our golf course managers, I'm gonna meet with them this week to kind of go through some of my winter work and get them started on that. We did complete our final tournament of the season, so October's on the slower end, so they're still working down there, but there's stuff they have time to complete, so that's all I had.
Updates? Anybody? Oh, well, you know what that means, Donnie.
Have we been here long enough?
I think so.
I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
Donnie makes a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Kyle seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.